Hello, this is National Chess Master All Rats here to continue my video series on the team match between my video lessons group and CARPE DIEM. This was played down on board 161, about a 1650 rating versus a low 1500. And as is happening in most of these team match games, players are missing moves because they're moving too quickly. And we'll call them as we see them. Anyway, we have a Sicilian defense, and I know that Pawn Pusher 3 plays the dragon variation, so he won't be surprised by this. He pretty much knows all the lines. He knows them probably far better than I do because I don't play the dragon. I haven't in years. And I'm not sure all the main lines here. I know a lot of lines. The bishop comes to d7, a rook goes to c8, the knight comes either to a5 or e5, hops into c4. White liquidates the knight. Black gets his rook up, black often up to c4 and often sacrifices the exchange. While all that's going on, white's running his pawns at the white king. And a lot of theory. And if you don't know the theory, you could lose or win this game very quickly because there's plenty of tricks and tactics. And so, there's points to be had if you want to invest the time. But in an online game, you should be able to look up the moves, and you shouldn't have any trouble. I'm not exactly sure at what point it leaves book. But like I said, it's a little different than what I'm used to seeing in the mainline dragon, but I'm sure this position has been seen many times before. So the white attack is off and running, and black is trying to get started. And h5, rook c8. Now knight d5. Now usually it's black that gets the bishop pair in this opening, but now it's white. As I was saying, the knight will go to c4 and white will trade off one of his bishops for it, either move the queen and let the bishop be on e3 be taken, or take the knight on c4. So I think just simply because white has the bishop pair, he has a very slight advantage. Also, the white attack is a little farther along than the black attack. But white is about to commit a major blunder, and it comes from moving too fast. Okay, so here's the move, bishop e2, and if you're black here, what do? Pause the video and come back. All right, you've resumed the video. What are you going to play here? What black did was he took this pawn. That's, maybe that's reasonable, maybe not. But you have to calculate what happens, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But black to play just simply wins with bishop h3 or h6 because this queen is pinned and is tied down to guarding this pawn, which stops a mate threat. What do you do with the queen? You take the bishop, you get mated in one move. And, you say, oh, look, I'll stop you. I'll fork your two pieces. Well, just eat another pawn. Hey, you want another one? And white can resign. Bishop h6, game over. Okay, it's that simple. But let's see what black did. And again, this comes down to what I talk about, analyzing the games out and trying to calculate things. The game continuation isn't that hard to see the way it goes. Because, as I say, black opts to take this pawn. And if you're going to analyze this on your, on an analysis board, the next several moves are pretty easy because they're forcing moves. White captures a bishop. Well, you pretty much have to take it. And then white grabs a pawn. Now you have to decide which pawn to take back with. And this is the natural one, clearing a square for the king to run out of there. And you should be able to anticipate this check. I mean, how could black miss this line? I think the answer is he didn't analyze it. He just saw a pawn and took it, made his move, and that was it. That's what the evidence seems to indicate. Black still has a mate threat down here, but white's checking. And, where to put the king? Coming up here doesn't look appetizing at all. If king f6, g5 check, let's drive you out further. Where do you want to come up? Here you're going to run into an annoying bishop check, or even maybe even a very potent queen check. I can't, the king comes up here. White can just stop the mate threat, open up a file for a rook, I mean, there's got to be a checkmate in here for white real quick. So coming up with the king is no good, but the king's in trouble. What, a little bit too far back. So king f7, grab this pawn with check. Now he decided to come up. After all, let's see. So now g5 check. Took here, check. The king's trying to run. Now, what's happened? White has 5 pawns, black has 4. White's still attacking. The mate threat on c2 is covered, and there's a piece on the take. There it is. Boom. Queen c6, and then white just plays queen d3, and he's a comfortable piece up. And black decided to resign. So black very well could have won this game if he'd taken his time. He certainly had 3 days. Every time you move, you get 3 days to think about it. So hopefully you guys learn how to play correspondence chess, and because that will improve your game. Playing blitz chess and correspondence chess will deprive you of all the benefits it has to offer. Okay, let's move on to the other game. And let me flip it. Pawn pushers on my team. And okay, so looks like we're headed for Nimzo Indian. But white comes up with an unusual move. Now, I'm sure it's been played before. But there's one immediate drawback that comes to mind. Actually, no, I'm mistaken. I'm hallucinating. I'm thinking queen a5 check. You can't go through your own pawn. Okay. Normally, what white does is bring the knight out to c3. Knight f3 is also playable, but then we go into a whole different set of opening theory. But black elects to give this check, and then white plays here, and now c5. Now, again, I talk about using opening reference work to look up positions, look up games. If you know your openings, you can transpose into what's known as the Leningrad variation against the Nimzo Indian defense. Okay, d5 turns this into a Leningrad. It comes in a slightly different move order where the Nimzo Indian is played directly, and white's third move would be knight c3, bishop b4, then bishop g5. And then often black plays c5, then d5 and h6, and bishop h5 or h4. I think it's called Leningrad because that's the hometown of Boris Spassky, and he contributed a lot to its theory back in the days of yore, 50s and 60s. Anyway, he was world champion, so he certainly deserves a variation named after him. Even this Leningrad or Spassky line. Okay, so white ends up choosing a rather poor move because I guess he's just trying to play solid. But, if he looked up the opening, and again, you can do this, if you purchase a database like ChessBase or go to Google free online chess databases, register an email and on some of them, and it's all there. You're all there for you to look at and figure out what to do, how to look up openings. It's easy. But white plays kind of a passive move, but now this bishop's presence on g5 becomes felt. Queen a5. And suddenly, black has threats. Threatening to win a pawn, and there's latent threats on this bishop. So white jettisons the bishop, but unfortunately, it's not enough. And now king comes up to e2. He was going to go there anyway, but you have to ask yourself if you're white. If after 7 moves your king is on e2, something serious has gone wrong with your opening. Well, it's too late to change it now, but black just has bagged a pawn. Black has all 8 pawns, white has 7. And, neither side has much development, but it doesn't matter. Black is a pawn ahead, and white is going to have to struggle to save this game. And strategically, black is winning. He's just up a clear pawn. It's just a matter of inducing weaknesses in the opponent position, and they're already here. Isolated pawn on a2, 2 hanging pawns. Black's weakness on f6, the double pawn, isn't really important at all. Okay, so at least they're developing now. Rook g8 to stop the bishop from developing, so the bishop decides to develop a different way, as we will see. There it's fianchettoed. Interesting thing about the word fianchetto. Some people pronounce it fianchetto. Well, it's fianchetto. How do I know? Well, I'm not Italian. I don't speak the language. But I do know that there's a little Italian puppet named Pinocchio, and he's not called Pinocchio. So it's fianchetto. Just got to throw that in. Little humor. Okay. I don't know what the purpose of a3 is. To keep a knight out of b4. Where is he going next? Attacking the pawn? Well, then you kick it back out. Okay, so White needs to mobilize his army and cover this weakness, which Black is going to be piling up on here real quick. Okay. Anyway, like I say, real quick, here it comes. So the king is coming up, but there's a problem here, as we will see. This pawn is now pinned. So White's about to lose another pawn here. And ouch. 4 attackers on c4, only 3 defenders. So there goes another pawn. Off with a piece. Let's trade rooks. Block the file. I might have brought my king up to d7 instead, but Black has his choice here, ways to win this. Hey, let's trade some more. Now I'm going to get on the... Well, not yet. I'm going to get a nice pawn center. See, look at that. Look at those nice, wonderful pass pawns that White can't even approach with his king. And Black swings his rook over to c8, and White decided he didn't want to play anymore. So what went wrong here? Well, e3 was a passive move, and had Black looked it up, he would have found d5. This is, whoops, not e3. Let's back it up. d5. And I think the normal move, h6. I'm not sure if this gets taken, but it could. And, this is all beyond the scope of what I can cover in the video, but this is, in essence, is the starting point of the Leningrad variation against the, of the Nimzo-Indian defense. Okay, so 2 points for the video lessons group. Could have been 1-1. Could have been even 0-2, but only if White had not played e3. I think pretty much he had a strategically lost game after that. Let's just double check that. What else does he do? Guard this, guard the pawn. Okay. As I say, there's latent threats on that bishop. See, now you've got a the knight is pinned. So now if you jettison it, still taking it. Okay, this will come back. What's happening now? Let's double up your pawns. With or without the queens. White didn't lose a pawn here. Maybe I missed a better line, but these pawns are horrible. b6, bishop a6, knight c6, knight a5, rook c8. The same method. Let's see. What am I missing anything here? Let's see. Queen c2. You can almost throw knight e4 here, and this is interesting. Attacks the bishop. If queen takes, we take this, and this looks dangerous. You can't take because there's a fork. I don't think White has enough counterplay. And moving the king is just asking for it. Here, look at this. Whee! There goes another pawn. All kinds of ways to win this. Again, I'm just looking at variations. I really question how many people, when they play correspondence chess, if they're actually looking at possible lines and seeing what works and what doesn't. You guys know the answer. If you're watching the videos, I'm teaching you how to play correspondence chess, and your game will improve. I'm living proof of it. I would never have made master had I not done it. I owe the master rating to playing correspondence chess. I was a very low rated 2000 player, and analyzing a lot of correspondence games for a year turned my whole game around. All right, I thank you so much for your time.